So some kind of general layout would be nice. A general navigation bar, which we have on all our pages. Because at the moment we don't have that. Now for that, we can of course dive into all our page components and start adding some header at the top. So above our main content, we could add a header with a nav bar and so on. And we could do that, but we would repeat that code for all our page components in the end, since I want to have the same navigation bar in all those components. And that is where this underscore app.js file now becomes important. This, in the end, is the root component where the different page components are rendered in. This component, which is rendered here, that's your page component in the end. Next.js will use this underscore app component to hand your page content to it to then display it whenever you switch the page. So that's your page being rendered, this component. That means that we of course can wrap this component with some general layout component. We could wrap it with a fragment and add a header on top of it. And that is exactly what we're now going to do. For this, in the components folder, I'll add a new subfolder side by side to event detail, events, icons, and UI, and I will name it layout. And in this folder, I'll now add a layout.js file and a main header.js file. Now, the layout.js file will be fairly trivial. It holds a functional component, the layout component, and that component will receive some props. And of course, we also export this layout component here. And then here, I just want to return a fragment, which we import from React. So we import from React, we import the fragment, and then a main HTML element between which I output props.children. But then above that, also my header. And I'll create that header in a separate file, in the main header.js file. In there, we add another component, the main header component, which we also export as a default here. And then in here, in this main header component, we return our header code. So here we'll have a header wrapper HTML element, and then in there, a div which holds our logo text in this case, since we'll not have any image logo in this application. And next to that logo, we'll then have a nav bar with our navigation items. Now let's start with the logo. That will be fairly trivial. I'll make it clickable by adding a link here, and hence we need to import link from next link. And I'll say next events here. That's my logo text. And it should be clickable and always take us back to the starting page. Hence ref here is just /nothing. /nothing so that when we click the logo, we're taken back to the starting page. Now in the nav part here, I'll add an unordered list of all the navigation items, though here it'll only be one nav item, which also is a link, because it also should be clickable. And here I'll say all events, because this should take me to the all events page. Or we say browse all events. And therefore here, ref is /events to take us to this events page. Now some styling would be nice, and therefore again attached you find a CSS file, you find the main header.module CSS file attached, which contains some styles for this main header component, and hence we should import classes from /main-header.module.css here and assign these classes to the HTML code. On the header element, for example, you should assign a class of .header, so classes.header. On that div with the logo, it's classes.logo. On the nav, it's classes.navigation. And that's it. These are the three classes which are added here. With that, we prepared the main header component, And now in the layout component, we can add the main header here above our main HTML element. So for this, we need to import main header and then render it here. And now we just want to wrap our overall layout around all the page content. And that is exactly what we can do with this _app.js file. We simply wrap this component, which is our page content, with layout. So with our own layout component like this. And for this, of course, you should make sure that you import layout, this layout component which we just worked on. And we can wrap layout around that because in layout we do pass props children, so the content between the opening and closing layout tags, on to this main HTML element. So we render it between those main tags. And hence now if you save all files, you should see this navigation bar at the top. And if I click on Next Events, I'm taken back to the starting page. If I click on Browse All Events, I'm taken to the All Events page, where we haven't added any content yet. And therefore, that's the next step. Let's work on this All Events page now.